the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, honorable ministers, members of the PTF, gentlemen of the press, good evening. So as you're aware, we are currently in phase 2 of the East lockdown, which started on the 1st of June 2020. Since then, we've made several minor adjustments to accommodate for the gradual reopening of the economy, as well as to address key challenges in the response. We have made an assessment of the current phase, and as mentioned by the chairman, we have made recommendations to Mr. President to retain the current phase of the response, with minor changes to address some of the challenges we see on the economic, socio-political, and health front. The assessment that we did has revealed that there's a lot of non-compliance with our non-pharmaceutical interventions, a lot of disbelief, skepticism, negativity with regards to the COVID pandemic. It is very clear that we need to have additional interventions to improve compliance with our non-pharmaceutical measures and our protocols. We also need to strengthen the engagement of communities and local authorities in prevention campaigns, as well as expand on the current rollout of precision-based control measures in high-burden local governments in the country. Further to this, and effective from early morning hours of today, the measures put in place for the current phase 2 of the ease lockdown shall be maintained while addressing some specific aspects. These include maintaining the current nationwide curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., maintaining the restrictions on mass gatherings with specific emphasis on protecting vulnerable populations. We continue to urge persons above the age of 60, those that have underlying medical illnesses such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and those that have immunosuppression to please stay at home and limit their interaction with the general public. We also strongly recommend, and this has been accepted, that government meetings continue to be virtual as much as possible, while maintaining restrictions on physical meetings, including official trips, oversight visits, and board meetings until further notice. The restrictions in the education and entertainment sector, as well as for other activities that attract mass gatherings, such as operations of markets and worship centers, remain. In particular, I would like to talk more about the general movement aspects. In terms of general movement, persons may go out for work, to buy necessary food, and for exercise. Specific to air transportation, as you are aware, domestic operations have already resumed. The railway sector has also restarted. For international travel, we have made recommendations to the aviation industry to commence the process for opening international airports, provided all existing international and local prevention guidelines on COVID-19 are in place. We have modified the advice with regards to arrival for flights. Passengers arriving at the airports for domestic flights are advised to arrive at least 1.5 hours before their flight and 3 hours before international flights, where these restart. For interstate travel, free movement of people and goods across state borders will continue, but only outside the curfew hours. Strict compliance is required with guidelines drawn by the Federal Ministry of Transportation, as well as the advisory provided by the Federal Road Safety Corps as it relates to reduced occupancy for vehicles. Passengers are requested to report any public transport operator who fails to comply with the FRSC guidelines that have been agreed with major transport stakeholders. And with this particular phase, we will continue to push for the security services and enforcement agencies to make sure that they do their job of protecting public health. With regards to intrastate travel, we will continue with the policy of reduced occupancy to half for buses and a maximum of 3 passengers for normal taxis. With industry and labor, the main modification we have is an advisory for banks to limit the number of customers within their operating areas to 50% occupancy within the banking halls in order to allow for physical distancing and to limit their workers to 75% or less. But banking operations shall continue as usual. For government offices and other corporate offices, we are now extending working hours to normal official hours from Monday to Friday with the mandatory use of non-medical face masks. We encourage work at home policy for civil/public servants below the grade level of 12. Essential staff of grade level 12 and above may be allowed to come to work. Our previous cutoff was grade level 14. Temperature checks will be carried out in all official government buildings. For personalized services, we'll continue to allow personalized services such as mechanics, artisans, hair salons, etc., who own their own workshops or workstations and can clearly adhere to non-pharmaceutical interventions. We're particularly concerned about the low level of compliance with wearing face masks, and with the current extension of this phase, as I said earlier, we will be working with state authorities to start enforcing this and looking at alternative legal ways of changing behavior. For markets, no major change apart from the issue of face masks that continues to be of concern. For hotels, restaurants, and eateries, hotels may continue to remain open but must observe all mandatory non-pharmaceutical interventions. Restaurants to maintain the takeaway/delivery system until further notice. Bars, gyms, cinemas, and nightclubs remain closed until further evaluation. We have advised the National Youth Service Corps to start planning ahead of resumption in future phases, but not within this current phase of the response. We will work closely with them to design policies that may allow this to happen in the future. For community activities as it relates to daycare and primary schools, all daycare and primary schools are to remain closed till further evaluation. However, while primary schools must remain closed, registered pupils may proceed to take the national common entrance as soon as it is feasible, provided there is compliance with issued non-pharmaceutical guidelines. For secondary and tertiary institutions, just to clarify, these remain closed. However, we have made arrangements for exiting or graduating students in their final years of secondary school to resume and partake in exams in line with guidelines issued by the Federal Ministry of Education. However, Schools must comply with the 6 recommended steps and required measures issued by the Federal Ministry of Education and which is available online. There are no new changes to places of worship. Our policy remains the same. For recreational parks / communal sports, restriction is removed on outdoor communal non-contact sports and the use of recreational parks for supervised physical exercise, not for social interactions, but supervised physical exercise. For recreational parks that are unable to enforce this, we expect them to remain closed. For outdoor non-contact sports, this includes lawn tennis, table tennis, squash, badminton, cycling, athletics, golf, polo, para-athletics, cricket, and other non-contact outdoor communal activities. In the event that people are not certain, please contact the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports for further guidance. Visiting of hospitalized patients remains limited to immediate family, and we continue to recommend a maximum of 20 people, including close family members, when it comes to attendance of funerals and other essential gatherings such as weddings that cannot be changed. So these are the main changes. Most of them are minor adjustments. And as I said earlier, we are continuing with the current phase 2 of the response. I'd like to conclude by thanking the general public for continuing to support the Presidential Task Force and the protocols that we have set up, and more importantly, for continuing to be patient with us as we get over this pandemic as soon as possible. Thank you.